That's happening right here. And for those who are joining us online as well, you can be part of the conversation before you come on down, because our hashtag is Tupatane Kasarani. And that's exactly what we intend on doing. We can meet up right here. 5 days of an amazing expo is what's going to be happening right here. You're enjoying it. You can be part of it as well as you come on down. The other hashtag we're using online as well, hashtag Changamka Fest. That's where it's all happening, so you can be part of it as it goes down right here. Kasarani is a place to be. Day 2 of the Kenya Manufacturing Summit. For those of you who haven't gotten yourself a seat, you can do that as we start shortly. Welcome to Day 2 of the Kenya Manufacturing Summit. So as we start, quick lay of the land. My name is Jeff Mote. I'll be a moderator for Day 2 of this particular summit, as well as we go through the conversations today. And today, it's all about the resilience of clean energy markets in uncertain times. Because if there's one thing that COVID-19 taught us, you have to adapt, you have to pivot, you have to innovate as you fix your plane, as you fly your plane. That's what we have learned at this particular point in time. And I think that's why we're here together, to share some of those stories as well, and also look forward for those of us who have a very clear crystal ball, gaze into it and say what 2022 has to offer as we move on forward. And if there's one thing that we learned from this particular time, is the fact that probably what we're doing in this particular sector needed a relook. And that's what we'll be talking about here, that right here. How can we actually have clean energy, power our sector, and save the planet as well? Those are the conversations we're having right here. And we are glad to have you to be part of this conversation this morning. At this point in time, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge the presence of our chief guest, Ambassador Monica Juma, CS Energy. Many thanks for making time to be here this morning. Asante sana. We also have our board chair, Mushai Konyia. Many thanks for being here as well. CEO Phyllis Wakiaga, thank you so much for being here as we get into this conversation this morning as well. And again, for those of you who couldn't make it to be physically in Kasarani and you're joining the conversation online via our live stream, once again, it is hashtag Tupatane Kasarani. You can also use the hashtag Changamka Fest 2021. Chime in on the conversations. Amazing knowledge being dispensed right here. So if you have a question, a comment as well, we want you to be part of this wherever you're joining this conversation from. So let's set the stage of what we're talking about today, because when you look at what COVID-19 did, yes, it did deal a heavy blow when you think about our healthcare sector and what happened there. You know, we were reeling from that. We went into self-isolation. But when you look at the other side of the coin and you look at the environment, a curious case of what happened when we all went indoors, when you think about it, you know. You look at industrial cities in Western India like Vapi. For the first time, quality of air improves because everybody is indoors, you know. Cape Town, there were penguins walking the streets when everyone was indoors. Clearly, they needed us to go away. And you bring it closer home to right here in Nairobi. Who would have thought that you could actually see the peak of Mount Kenya from Nairobi? That's what COVID-19 did. And probably when you were indoors and thinking about our lives and praying that everything goes well, now we realize that as we went out there and were very industrial and productive, maybe we weren't taking Mother Nature as seriously as we should. And that's why we're here to have that conversation on how we can actually build better, save our business, and save the planet as well. So that's a conversation we'll be having this morning and into the afternoon as well. We are glad that you'll be part of it right here. An amazing array of speakers at this point. So let me get right into it as I usher in our first speakers. We get our introductory remarks at this particular point in time as far as this program is concerned. Once again, I've just seen a couple of queries on that. Yes, indeed, the hashtag is Tupatane Kasarani, Changamka Fest 2021. Without further ado, let me get our first speaker on stage to give our introductory remarks as we get into Day 2 officially. Ms. Joyce Njogu. She is the Head of Consulting and Business Development at the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. Ms. Joyce, a round of applause as she comes on stage.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Day 2 of Changamka Fest. We are discussing the manufacturing sector and its growth trajectory, as well as the requirements for this. Today is about clean energy, and I'd like to welcome Ms. Phyllis Wakiaga to take us through the opening remarks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. You know, when we are here, the word Changamka, in case you're not, you don't understand Kiswahili, it means celebration. So when I say good morning, I expect that celebration. Good morning, everyone. Yes, we are here to Changamka, to celebrate the local Kenyan manufacturing sector and its resilience over the last 1.5, almost 2 years of COVID. Allow me to really appreciate and recognize the presence of our chief guest, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, the Minister or CS for Ministry of Energy. I also want to appreciate the other guests who have joined us today, including Mr. Daniel Kipto, the DG of Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority. We also have Engineer Rosemary Odwor, who is a friend of CAM also, working very closely with the sector. She's the acting CEO of the Kenya Power and Lighting Company. We appreciate and recognize your presence. All the ministry officials who have joined, Engineer Kiva, Motisia, and the rest of the team, thank you so much for joining. I also want to appreciate the leadership from Kenya Association of Manufacturers. We have our chairman, Mushai Kunyiha, with us, our vice chairman, Rajan Shah, our board member who's in charge of Changamka, Pankaj Bedi, with us, the entire secretariat team, our members, including the Schneider MD who has joined us today. Everyone who's joining us online, I know everyone couldn't come because we are still navigating the COVID season, but we have a live stream that is following through on this online. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, we are excited to be here again to celebrate the local manufacturing sector in Kenya. And just to give a background for those who were not with us here yesterday, the Changamka Shopping Festival and the Kenya Manufacturing Summit and Expo is on its 4th year this year. We have been running this expo to celebrate local manufacturing and also to demonstrate what the local manufacturing sector is capable of. When we started it 4 years ago, we started at KICC, and when we had the first expo, I think a number of Kenyans who visited the stands were surprised that a lot of those quality products were being manufactured in Kenya. And it gave us really the momentum to say this is something we have to do more often. So we do it now annually. And after the first 2 years, KICC became too small. So we had to find a venue, and we moved to Kasarani, and we are running it from Kasarani last year. And in 2019, last year we're not able to because, of course, of the COVID circumstances. But this year we are back at Kasarani. So we'll be here for 5 days of family fun, celebration, and really just reflecting on the manufacturing sector. And the reason we are here today and having the team from the Ministry of Energy is because we also have the Clean Energy Expo running alongside the Changamka Kenya Shopping Festival. The Clean Energy Expo is an opportunity for us to showcase a number of clean energy products that are produced within the country, and for those that are not produced within the country, those that are already being utilized by different industries. And this is really in light of what we want to do around a clean and circular economy. We are strong believers as the association that as we even grow our manufacturing sector, we must grow it in a sustainable way. And over the years, through the partnership with the Ministry of Energy since the year 2006, we've been able to work very closely with industry on the matter of energy efficiency and conservation. We've carried out over 1,500 energy audits. We've been able also to train a number of professionals in certified energy management, in other relevant energy management courses. We are now even doing certified verification and measurement professional trainings. And all these trainings have built the capacity of the local industry to be able to be more efficient in how we utilize our resources. We really appreciate and acknowledge the partnership through the Ministry of Energy over the years. We've also held the Energy Management Awards annually for the last 17 years. And as industries, you've been very, very vigilant in participating, in allowing us to come to your factories, to understand the different practices that you're putting in place around energy efficiency and management. And we've been able to also utilize the opportunity to benchmark. When we have winners, we are able to take different manufacturers to visit these factories so that they are able to learn what is happening and how they can also implement the same within their factories. So today the Clean Energy Expo is then another opportunity for the manufacturers who are attending Changamka to look at the clean energy technologies within the country, and see how they can utilize them in their own production. We also have a number of members who are producing these technologies locally, and I think it's really a good showcase of what Kenya is doing, even in light of the discussions happening at COP26 that just ended about a week ago. The Devolution Conference is also ongoing, and I know the real conversation there is also around climate change, and we've worked on climate change policies with a number of counties in the work we've done over the years, and we are still keen to see how we can drive this conversation and really accelerate change at county level. So thank you very much for joining us today. We look forward to having very fruitful conversations and discussions on how we can really take this conversation forward. And CS, we look forward to working with the Ministry of Energy on even a more coordinated approach at how we do planning on power and different aspects around this area. So at this point, allow me to welcome our chairman, Mr. Mushai Kunyiha, who will be giving remarks on behalf of the association. Thank you so much. Karibu.
Good morning, everyone. Glad to see you all who are here physically and those who have joined us online. And welcome to the Clean Energy Expo. Of course, a special welcome to our chief guest, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma from EPRA and from Kenya Power Ministry, Schneider, and of course some of our board leadership who are here. Welcome all, and thank you for joining us today. Like Phyllis finished off on was, as she was speaking, we are within a context of climate change. And I think one of the words we forget, they talk about irreversible climate change. So this is damage that you do that may not be resolved quicker. And it is, I guess we call it irreversible because nobody has seen it before. We don't know what will happen. So we are in a context where greenhouse gases and global warming is creating big challenges for all of us in the world. Yet at the same time, we are operating in a developing country. And as Kenya, as the Association of Manufacturers, and I think government and all Kenyans, we are trying to increase our well-being. We want to grow manufacturing. We want to grow and improve our standards of living, how people live. So we have this challenge and a demand for energy. Of course, we all know that a lot of what is causing the greenhouse gases and the global warming, a lot of it comes from energy generation. So we need that energy, but on the other hand, we have a pressure of what is happening in the world. So we are happy that with government, and as the association, we said we've been committed to saying that even as we grow this energy, we need clean energy. How can we grow this energy without impacting our environment negatively? And thankfully for us, it is not reinventing the wheel. There are options. And there are many options, and we are glad to see Kenya. I think we are among the global leaders, if not the global leaders in green energy. Whether we talk about things like geothermal, water, wind, solar, we have very many opportunities that is going to help us keep green energy going. Now, obviously, there are still some balances in terms of how that power is delivered and so on, and there's a lot of work to be done around it. But the key thing is that we are focused on it, and we are looking towards getting that done. So we've been doing this as KEM for many years, where we come together with our membership, with input suppliers, and we have conversations on what are the opportunities, what are the investment gaps, where can we get funding, and how can it help us as we try and grow this green energy. Related to that as well is for all industries, as you're using energy, are you conserving energy? Because waste in any place within your energy system is both it is cost for you because it makes you less competitive, and secondly, it's not good for the environment. So how are we going to help our industries produce efficiently so that they are using their energy well? We talked about the Energy Management Awards, which we've been doing for many years, and it is impressive actually how many steps people have moved forward in terms of the energy conservation, even with systems like we did. I think we participated with government in introducing energy audits so that everybody's doing an energy audit to find ways to save money and to save power, which is adding to the big picture. So we are all trying to get more energy, but more efficient energy that we can use in what we are doing. We are happy that actually, from a government perspective, from the president downwards, we are all committed to this. We saw the president's participation at COP26 and Kenya's input there. So we are committed to this path growing together. And what we'd like to do is sit together with everyone, and summits like this and other conversations help us to sit together, put together ideas, and work out what we'll be able to do in the future as we are trying to move towards cleaner energy. We did mention that the opportunity in clean energy is not just for the use of it, but also from a manufacturing perspective, that there is opportunity for people to start making things. We already have solar panels being manufactured in Kenya, or at least assembled in Kenya. We are wondering why at some point we should get windmills being done here, even if they are small ones. I mean, I remember there was a windmill that used to be made for pumping water way back then, and I haven't seen many of them recently. But there are many things that give opportunity for manufacturers, whether it is in the installation, the cabling, the wiring, the solar panels, the solar cells. There is so many opportunities. Even as we walk around the stands today, later, you'll be able to see things being done in motorbikes and other areas where we can actually leapfrog and start being manufacturers of those new green technologies, so that we are not only importing them, but manufacturing them here. And that manufacturing helps us to create jobs. Because at the end of the day, why we need the energy, the power, and the manufacturing, we are trying to create jobs, trying to create incomes for our people so that they can improve their livelihoods and their well-being as we continue. So we don't, it is also an issue, as I conclude, to say that it's not like we have forever. Time is also limited. So there is an urgency to all these issues about getting clean energy, about changing the way we do things and moving forward. Similarly, the job creation, whether it is in manufacturing or other industries, it's a critical thing, because we are seeing the number of youth coming out into the job market. These are not things we can wait forever and hope that a solution will come. We cannot keep talking about them without action. So these are opportunities for us to finish the talk, but the real test is the action that we take from here and move out there. And finally, just again to thank government and the ministry for all the work going into the power sector at the moment. We are really looking forward to seeing some good results. A lot has been done within the year. And we saw a Gazette notice yesterday, I believe, or was it the day before? And we are working towards improving our power sector, which will be very important for manufacturing. And we are here to help and assist in that direction. So thank you all very much, and we hope we'll have a good summit together. Thanks.
Another round of applause for our chair, Tafadhali. Asante Sana. It's all about clean energy. That's what we'll be discussing this morning, well into it. I'd like to welcome our next speaker, the acting CEO, Kenya Power, Engineer Rosemary Odwor. A round of applause for her, please.
Thank you. Our chief guest, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy, the Chair of CAM, Mushai Kunyiha, CEO CAM, Phyllis Wakiaga, and other CAM board members, the DG EPRA, Kipto Daniel, invited guests, both physically here and those virtually attending, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The CEO said it's Changamka, Changamka. Good morning. Yes, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here this morning. And I want to start by thanking our hosts, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, for providing the platform for this important conversation on clean energy alongside this Changamka festival. The manufacturing sector and Kenya Power are like Siamese twins, joined together irreversibly, if I would use the words of the chair, with the vital organ of energy beating across the two. And therefore, it gives me a lot of pleasure to be here this morning to share this moment with all of you. It is therefore imperative that we continue to build on this partnership through various mutual engagements such as this one, so that we can catalyze the transformation of these two economically strategic institutions. In the last decade, the green agenda has gained momentum as the world races to reverse that damage that has been caused by man on the planet during this industrialization phase. Indeed, increasingly, the debate on whether to choose between the environment or the economy has been replaced by calls to adopt sustainable business practices that support economic development while promoting environmental conservation for future generations. Kenya Power, being the customer-facing agency in our energy sector value chain, is playing a very active role in driving the clean energy agenda. And as such, being still privileged to be the energy dispatcher, we are keenly watching the energy mix, which now stands at 92% renewable energy. This indeed is a figure that is a high-ranking figure worldwide. The increased uptake of green energy not only enables us to drive the green energy agenda, but has also cured the concentration risk attendant to over-reliance on only hydro, as was in the past, which are affected by weather conditions such as the drought we are presently experiencing. We are doing this by riding on emerging technologies, particularly in the electricity area, so that we are able to look into the future by securing our energy. Currently, there are conversations in the area of storage for intermittent sources such as solar and wind to enhance their availability and thus enabling us to deploy them more effectively and across the time period of the day. Such advancements in technology will require the proactive involvement and engagement of sector players to develop the requisite regulations to support these developments, which will in turn encourage the investments that will drive their implementation. We see the private sector being very active participants in these innovations, and the energy sector will be very available for these discussions as we move forward. We are also enhancing our deployment of renewable energy sources such as solar, and we had, as at June this year, constructed and commissioned 21 solar mini-grids in off-grid plants, and are planning to construct another 100 with support from the World Bank. In addition, we are implementing an energy efficiency program, energy efficiency being a topic that cannot be left behind as we talk about clean energy, and it is currently targeting large power consumers with the goal being to scale it to small and medium enterprises as well as domestic consumers. The adoption of energy efficiency practices not only promotes the efficient use of the available energy, we also have found that it contributes immensely to customer satisfaction and to growth by releasing resources that are tied to payment of your electricity obligations. It gives you an opportunity for growth and expansion of your business enterprises. Ladies and gentlemen, data shows that the main driver of future residential demand for energy is population growth, with projections showing that 74% of the total population will be residing in urban centers by the year 2050. This offers us an opportunity to further drive the uptake of clean energy by providing affordable energy, while at the same time forming partnerships that will promote the uptake of energy-efficient appliances. As Kenya Power is actively promoting the adoption of clean energy, in line with Sustainable Development Goal number 7 of ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all, we are working closely with our customers to ensure that this is attained. By working collaboratively with these other business partners, we are glad to note that electric cooking, which is now being called e-cooking, is increasingly being embraced, driven by the emergence of more energy efficient and affordable technologies. In fact, as many have discovered, cooking with energy efficient electrical appliances is cheaper. Cooking with energy efficient electrical appliances is cheaper, and we have data to prove this, than most energy sources available in the market today. So if you are still on kuni, on charcoal, your time is running out, please join us in using electricity for cooking. Kenya Power is also positioning itself to drive the e-mobility agenda to increase the adoption of environmentally friendly electric vehicles and motorcycles. Last year, we were involved in the pilot of the e-mobility program in the country, and through this pilot, the company took up electric motorbikes for use by our field staff. The pilot project provided very useful lessons that the company is building on to implement initiatives that will support the implementation of the e-mobility agenda in this country. Kenya Power is a member of a consortium that comprises private and public sector players, which is actively pursuing the e-mobility agenda through negotiations for favorable environment to support investments in e-mobility. Among the issues that this consortium is seeking to address is the enactment of a legal framework that will support e-mobility in the country, as well as the development of policies that will guide the installation of infrastructure, such as charging stations for electric vehicles and motorbikes. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, the evolution of clean energy locally and globally, as witnessed in the last decade, presents exciting times. Exciting Changamka times for the energy sector and its stakeholders. As the face of the sector, Kenya Power is developing strategies to deepen the adoption of clean energy. Kenya is an industrializing nation. We have had discussions this morning on the same, and aspires to be the region's manufacturing hub. To achieve this, the guarantee of affordable, clean, and reliable power is non-negotiable. I want to confirm to you that Kenya Power is well positioned. A number of times we have asked ourselves, when do we get to the Nike position? I want to give you the good news that we have hit the bottom, and we have already started the upward journey on the Nike, and therefore join us on this journey of clean energy and growth for Kenya and for the future. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and God bless you.
Many thanks for that, Engineer Odor. Many thanks for that indeed. And of course, as she said, they've hit the bottom of that Nike tick. They're going up. And as I say, you just do it. That's what you say, you just do it. And that's exactly what they're doing. Many thanks for that. I'd like to call on stage our next speaker, Director General, Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Mr. Daniel Kipto. Please come on stage. A round of applause for the DG Tafadhali.
Well, I don't know after Rosemary whether I can do any better, but I think I'll leave it to the CS. Our guest of honor today, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, the Chair, Mushai Kinyuya, the VC, Rajesh Shah, Madam Phyllis, CEO, all manufacturers and entities present in the room, members of the public, the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. It gives me a lot of pleasure to be here today, really to reminisce on the gains that the manufacturing sector has had in this economy, but also to reflect on the challenges and the opportunities that we do have going forward. We at the authority are always glad when we have such a forum, because it gives us an opportunity to have the real conversations for the benefit of not only of the industry as a manufacturing sector, but for the benefit of the economy and to improve this country. Ladies and gentlemen, let me start first by speaking to the Big Four agenda and the energy transition, because there is a nexus between the Big Four agenda and the energy transition. This agenda really looks to make manufacturing the biggest contributor to a national aggregate output. We all know that fiscal plans that are not built with manufacturing at the forefront of the economy are plans that are made on quicksand. We at the authority are determined to see that energy access and access to clean and affordable energy plays a vital role in the manufacturing space and in order to make the Big Four agenda a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, again, in December, our country submitted the National Revised Determined Contributions with the ambition of reducing CO2 emissions by 32%, and this is based on the business as usual scenario. The transition to clean energy, especially in the manufacturing sector, will play an important pathway to achieving these targets. But the question, ladies and gentlemen, is how do we achieve this target? In our view as the authority, the first line of defense is energy efficiency. With energy efficiency, cost of production is reduced, and also we avoid the negative externalities. At the authority, since the year 2012, we have been at the forefront of championing energy efficiency in this country. The benefits of carrying out energy audits and actually implementing the recommendations are for everyone to see. And I think the people around the room, physically and virtually, from the manufacturing sector, can attest to this. Amongst those in attendance in this forum are entities which have benefited, as I've said, in carrying out these energy audits and implementing the recommendations. Allow me to borrow from the founding father of the developed China, who said, and he asked his people to cross the river by filling the stones. This is the journey that we at the authority have been walking in the energy efficiency space. In partnership with the ministry and the industry, we have been carrying out skills gap analysis to understand the shortcomings that our energy auditors have. We have also been able to design a curriculum that will help increase the number of licensed auditors. This will hope to increase and to alleviate the pressure that we have on the limited number of energy auditors that we do have currently. We also, as the authority, provide technical guidance to the Center of Energy Efficiency and Conservation, CEC, which is centered at CAM, to improve the monitoring of the quality of energy audits offered by these manufacturing entities. It is through this share of information between ourselves and CAM and industry that we're able then to assess the quality of the reports that come out from these energy auditors. Ladies and gentlemen, we reckon that the improvement in energy performance of facilities will only be as good as the quality of the audits that are actually conducted. We'll continue to collaborate with CAM to be able to improve the quality of these audits so that then we're able to achieve our set targets. To further enhance on energy efficiency, ladies and gentlemen, we at the authority have revised the energy management regulations of 2012 and have also suggested introduction of energy service companies, ESCOs, to improve the rate of implementing the recommended energy conservation measures. In the same proposed regulations, we at the authority will establish energy performance benchmarks. The new developments will also assist in improving cost performance in the manufacturing sector and to improve sustainable use of energy. Ladies and gentlemen, on another more important topic as well, this has been touched on, is on the matter of fuel switching. Fuel switching is an important intervention in our bid to transit to clean energy. We at the authority continue to engage with sector players in technology advancement in order to retrofit our coal-fired boilers, our biomass boilers, and HFO boilers to liquid bioenergy. These steps, ladies and gentlemen, will require significant investment and commitment, both from public and private sector. We at the authority commit to be able to provide the required technical and economic advice to the government and also to industry on the best fiscal incentives that will be able to advance this conversation on fuel switching. We also, as the authority, continue to promote the growth of captive solar generation in the country. We also are working on improving the reliability of power in order to ensure that the transition is indeed made possible, and also that our energy prosumers are also able to tie into the grid and provide energy also to the grid. We're also keen on working to increase reliability and quality in the service that is offered by the utilities, and we continue to work with the utilities such as KPLC to ensure that this is a success. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to a close on my remarks, I just want to touch on one thing, and I think, Chair, you had mentioned it, is really how the economies of the world recover post-COVID. We have seen a lot of countries coming out very strongly out of this COVID, and we can see already some of the challenges on a negative side for all of us who are consumers in terms of the demand and supply balance in the energy sector. We have seen the cost of fuel, and I know a lot of us look at the regulator on matters cost of fuel, and I think this is because most of the global economies have been able to restart faster than it was anticipated, and supply has not picked up as quickly as it had been anticipated. And that's why we're seeing a bit of the spike in the energy prices. But I think there's a silver lining to that discussion, which is also on demand. And I think demand has also picked up in the country. I think, and this is one we want to attribute as the regulator to industry and manufacturing. We are continually seeing a trend where we are hitting new peak demands. In the month of August, we did hit the 2,000 megawatt number in August. This is on the 12th of August. On the 18th of November, we did hit 2,009 megawatts peak demand. And today is a really befitting time because 2 days ago, on the 23rd, we did hit 2,035 megawatts of demand in the country. And that's a clear indicator of where we are going in terms of energy demand. And from a regulatory standpoint, and I'm sure I'm speaking on also on behalf of my licensee, the utility, that this presents a very good opportunity for manufacturing and industries, because a lot of this is attributable to manufacturers going back, your lines are back up, you are now employing more Kenyans, and you are uptaking more power. It is a good opportunity. As Rosemary says, the only way is up. So I really encourage, as the regulator of the utility, for manufacturers to work together with our utility to be able to grow this demand even further. With those few remarks, I wish to thank everybody for making the time today, and I wish everybody fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Another round of applause for our DG. That's the man at the helm tackling regulatory issues as far as the energy sector is concerned. And I use tackle as a pun as well, because I also have it from good authority. He was quite the prolific rugby player back in high school. Yes, indeed, you can follow up with prop. Thanks so much for that, DG. At this point, I'd like to call back to the stage our chair, Mushai Kinyua, so that he can introduce our chief guest.
So thank you very much. Mine is brief on this time, and thank you for all the speeches from EPRA, Asante, and Kenya Power. So mine is to introduce our newish, yes, a couple of weeks now, is it, or months, in the energy sector, but obviously not a stranger to us. She's been in cabinet for a while, so this is not new work for her. Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, karibu sana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mushai. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Thank you. The chairperson of the Kenya Association of Manufacturers and board members present, the CEO, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, the Managing Director, KPLC, DG IPRA, senior public and private officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin my remarks by, first of all, congratulating the Kenya Association of Manufacturers for hosting the 7th Annual Clean Energy Conference and Expo 2021, themed Resilience of Clean Energy Markets During Uncertain Times. I want to really also commend CAM for the tradition that has been established of providing this forum that allows the interface between the members of the manufacturing fraternity, the consumers, and the aspirants. Because I think it is always very, very important to have a forum like this that allows a reflection of the state of play, and together some discussions in terms of projecting the future. And so I hope I hope that this will continue into the future. I have already been told of the dates for next year, and we hope we'll be here again to commemorate and reflect on this journey together. Today's theme gives us a great anticipation and reaffirms the resilience of us all as industry, but as a country. That despite the unprecedented times that we have found ourselves as a country and the world, I think it is true to say from the figures that we have just heard from Kipto that we seem to be riding the wave. And the question is really how to accelerate that ride. And that is why this conversation could not be taking place at a better time. But it is also an expectation, if we are going to save the world, it is predicated that the post-COVID future must be decarbonized. And we are seeing companies across the world embrace cleaner and more efficient energy sources in preparation for this. Just coming out of Glasgow, I think the biggest takeaway from Glasgow was the emphasis, yet again, that there is no time. Just what Mushai was saying. And I remember the language was a very peculiar language for a meeting like that, you know? It was about existential threats. It was about death. It was about destruction of not just countries, not just industries, but humanity. It was about if we didn't do something, it was about doing something, but the scale of doing that something was also important. So it cannot be incremental. And I think that is why it is so important to be having this conversation today. I have been informed that this year's Clean Energy Expo will be showcasing innovations in renewable energy, water, wastewater efficiency, e-mobility, green building, and clean cooking as well. These were some of the most primary discussions out of COP26, and I have to say, sitting there kind of put a lot of pressure on all of us. I think it is true, one could say, if you asked what was COP26, I think COP26 was the energy COP. It was a discussion about energy, whether we were talking about transition, whether we were talking about renewables, whether we were talking about green growth, whatever it was. It was a discussion that left it clear in my mind that the future of humanity depended squarely on the ability of humanity to turn clean, green, sustainable. It was rather very, very clear. And it is not a surprise, therefore, and it was very befitting, I think, that the Devolution Conference appropriated the necessity to look at climate change. But again, yesterday, sitting in water, the big debate, and the president's statement, if you listen to it, it was also a statement about energy. So really, we are sitting at a cusp of something. Because even as we were in Glasgow, and it was very interesting to watch this, every panel spoke about Kenya's experience, Kenya's leadership. You know, it was either a Kenyan panelist or a Kenyan example. And that puts enormous pressure on us because then we become a vanguard in this era of saving the world. There cannot be a bigger responsibility for a country our size. I am therefore delighted that more than 50 participating institutions and individuals are exhibiting green technologies that are key to reducing pollution and waste, that are key in optimizing natural resource use, in recycling, in reusing waste, and reducing emissions, which is key for the sustainability of manufacturing. These sustainable and green practices will help organizations to become more efficient, to become more competitive, to become profitable. So it's no longer the thing we used to question with Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai said, why does she love trees? Didn't even know how to define it. She's the tree woman, you know. It was a hobby. That's how we crafted it. But I think she was ahead of our time, now we know. And this is not about hobby anymore. It is about whether humanity will continue to survive in a better form or not, or get destroyed. And so it's not an option for manufacturing. It's not an option for yourselves. It's about how you engage with this quickly and in a scalable fashion in order to make the impact that is required both in terms of commercial returns, but also the impact on society. We know that energy, as Rosemary put it, is really critical to driving this agenda and to driving this survival. And that's why the government has been very keen, this administration has been very keen, focusing at energy as a critical enabler across the Big Four agenda, but also in terms of pursuit of Vision 2030. So it is not just about the world, it's about also the visioning of Kenya. And I think in some ways, ahead of many of the countries across the world, the government took bold steps, very bold steps. We didn't know how it was going to go. And I think there was a little bit of luck that then pushed us, gave us the first mover advantage. Now, with the first mover advantage, it means a lot of the world is watching us, and they are going to be learning our lessons, which is why we cannot afford to go wrong. The other reason why we cannot afford to go wrong. Another reason why we have a duty to share those lessons so that some of the challenges and experiences we have had can be used to improve the experience of other nations and people. In this context, you will know, and this has been mentioned by some of the speakers, that the government has diligently been engaged in the development of policy and regulatory frameworks that we are continuously improving and implementing in order that we can drive the economy to make it more greener and more productive. These policy changes and regulations are geared towards supporting the implementation of our international commitments as it relates to Paris Agreement, and in order that we can achieve our climate targets as set out in our NDC that was referenced by Kipto earlier on. But in addition, I think this is going to drive our own prosperity agenda as a people. This nation, which is sitting at a gateway to the East African region, as a gateway to the African 1.34 billion people market, is doing this so that we can give impetus, because the wealth, the prosperity of our nation cannot be guaranteed by 50 million people, you know. So we need to create an interface with the African market, with a larger market, so that we can realize the promise of our nation and aspiration for our own people. We all know the story of the energy sector, so I don't want to go into it. You know, it was unbundled at this and that, and this is what happened and going on. But the important thing here is the demand that is growing, you know. And the demand that is growing, to my mind, means that we must consciously plan on the investment so that we can guarantee that energy in order to drive the green growth that we also aspire for. The government continues to offer a number of incentives, fiscal incentives and so forth, in order that we can provide comfort for investment for manufacturers and so forth. And also to help in this de-risking investment, because we know it's a big investment, we know it's risky, we know the initial investments are not guaranteed. And so there's a lot that the government has been reflecting around and doing in order to de-risk the investment. And so really, these measures are supposed to encourage investment, but it is very, very, very important that we do not depend only on foreign investors, yeah? And that is why really domestic capital, somewhat, we must to create an appetite for domestic capital to see it fit, even in the sequence of investment. It is very, very important that energy finds a place of pride, because it is the one that is going to drive everything else. So in a sense, to encourage, to hopefully to incentivize domestic capital and manufacturers, even if it is in terms of joint ventures, you know, and structuring those relationships in a manner that grows the capability of ourselves to invest here, so that we can begin to do what KenGen is doing. We begin to move out into the region and transfer that competency in a manner of developing the energy sectors of our neighboring countries, because you cannot grow alone as an island. It is very, very important that we carry the region with us. Having said that, I think it is very, very important to be grateful. There is a sense in which nature is working with us. Working with us because we are a country that with a variety, a diverse source of renewables, whether we are talking geothermal, whether we are talking wind, whether we are talking solar, whether we are talking hydropower, and so forth. And this means we have an array of technologies that we need to develop. You know, it's not one. And so we do not run a risk of just depending on one subsector of this. And so this diversity means we have a bigger opportunity, a bigger play area, but it also means a diverse investment portfolios that we must think about. And so how to access support internationally, I think, and these are some of the conversations that we really need to go into. We've been told there's a number of funds we've had in Glasgow, a number of commitments. How do we access these commitments? And I think that's why the discussion between the government and the manufacturing and the domestic and other investors becomes very, very critical, so that we do not become an appendage to this development. It is really very important that we are part of those discussions. I want to end by saying that the promise of Kenya in terms of its prosperity for itself as a nation, but more importantly for its people, in terms of its leadership at the regional and global level as far as energy in general is concerned, but renewable in energy in particular, is going to be driven by our place in the development of the energy sector, of the renewable energy sector. And I dare say that this is a new sector, and so the discussions that are going on now, we must be part of that discussion that defines this pathway, that shapes the technology, that gets involved in the production of the technology. And so all those things of ERDs, the research and development, the interface between manufacturing and our institutions of innovation, universities, research institutions, and so forth, must really be pursued consciously and deliberately. It is very, very important. The development of IP and intellectual property to protect those innovations is crucial. It's absolutely crucial. And so that we can continue translating the vanguard role, our vanguard role in renewables, to become a leadership in manufacturing the technology relating to renewable energy, and in using that renewable energy in order to fire our prosperity and development for ourselves, for the region, and for the world. I thank you for your kind attention.
As some speakers have said on stage, it is called the Changamka Fest for a reason. So as you do that round of applause again, let's Changamka for our chief guest, Afadhali. A hearty round of applause. Many thanks for that. Thanks for that address, Ambassador Dr. Monica Juma, CS, of course, Ministry of Energy. At this point in time, we'll have a brief break for us to go around the various booths and see what our manufacturers have showcased for us. An amazing experience as you go around the stadium this morning. But also, for those of you who might not have gotten their vaccination jabs, the Nairobi Metropolitan Service is at hand to get you vaccinated. You can talk to any of the ushers and they'll lead you to where that will take place. So that can happen at that point. And for members of the Fourth Estate, again, we will have our press briefing right out that exit, right past the registration desk. That's where we get the registration done. So we'll take a brief intermission at this point, go around and see what Kenya Manufacturing has to offer, celebrate Kenya Manufacturing, grab yourself a piece of two as well, and then we convene after that and have a discussion. Good morning.